In the Indian state of Haryana, engineers are pumping tube well water into a dry, dusty ditch that stretches across the desert. They are attempting to physically resurrect the Saraswati. According to the Rig Veda, a collection of ancient Sanskrit hymns, the Saraswati was a mighty, roaring, deified river that nourished the earliest practitioners of the Hindu faith. Today, millions of Hindus believe the river never truly vanished. The faithful maintain that it continues as an invisible underground current, eventually converging with the Ganges and Yamuna rivers at a sacred bathing site called the Triveni Sangam. There is a specific political drive behind this engineering project. Hindu nationalists are actively campaigning to officially rename the ancient Indus Valley to the Sindhu-Saraswati Civilization. If this mythic river ran right through the physical ruins of the Indus Valley, they can claim the Vedic authors and Indus builders were the exact same indigenous people. The state is bypassing traditional ecology, spending millions to engineer scientific validation for a religious text, while attempting to displace the established historical consensus of human migration. The primary geographic suspect for this ancient river is the Ghaggar-Hakra, a dried-up, seasonal riverbed sitting between the Yamuna and Sutlej rivers. Archaeologists have found numerous major settlements from the Indus Valley Civilization sitting directly along this dry paleochannel. For nationalists, this clustering of ruins is proof that the Saraswati sustained these ancient cities. Geologists can test that claim using zircon sand dating. By isolating specific sand grains from the riverbed, researchers can trace exactly where the water came from and date when it was flowing. The zircon data reveals an anomaly. During the Vedic period, the Ghaggar-Hakra was not a massive glacier-fed river rushing down from the Himalayas. It relied almost entirely on seasonal monsoons. As the global climate shifted, those monsoons weakened. The river dried up entirely over 4,000 years ago, centuries before the hymns of the Rig Veda were even composed. The people who authored the Rig Veda could not have stood on these banks and described a mighty, roaring river. The physical, geological record contradicts the timeline required by the myth. To find a river that actually matches the ancient descriptions, we have to look further west, to the Helmand River in present-day Afghanistan. In ancient Avestan texts, this river was known by a cognate name, Saraswati. Historical and linguistic evidence shows that nomadic Indo-Aryan tribes moved eastward from this region into the Indian subcontinent, carrying their oral traditions with them. When these migrating tribes settled in India, they applied the names of the massive rivers they had left behind to the smaller local waterways they encountered. Saraswati became Saraswati. Over generations, as the physical Indian rivers shrank into the desert sands, the cultural memory of a roaring torrent detached from the landscape. The river evaporated from the earth to become a celestial pathway, often associated with the Milky Way, and evolved into the Hindu goddess of knowledge. The Saraswati survives as an ancient linguistic memory, a name that crossed continents and transformed into an enduring religious metaphor. The archaeological reality of the Indus Valley Civilization is specific and concrete. They built highly planned brick cities with complex plumbing systems, and they left behind a written script that remains completely untranslated today. The culture described in the Vedic texts looks completely different. It was defined by nomadic pastoralism, the use of horse-drawn chariots, and an entirely oral tradition passed down by priests. Accepting the geological timeline and the migration of the Indo-Aryans means accepting that these two cultures are distinct. For nationalist groups who demand an unbroken, entirely indigenous origin story for the Hindu faith, that separation is unacceptable, so they reject the migration theory. Instead, they merge them, claiming the people who engineered the Indus cities and the people who composed the Vedic hymns were one and the same. The water flowing into these Haryana ditches functions as a tool for political legitimacy, physically anchoring sacred literature into a landscape that has been dry for millennia. In the fight to define a nation's modern identity, archaeology and geography are active battlegrounds. Those in power are attempting to rewrite the map, because whoever controls the past controls the future.